Let's give some kids, maybe adults, whoever's just getting started at the gym, what's some practical advice on embodiment?
Do what
Get
you
to
like.
the gym!
Get to the gym! Get to the
Come
gym!
on.
How is it to do a bench press with gratitude versus with hate? You will see a difference.
When I was looking you up, I see embodiment. I have no idea what that means. Let's get into it. Hey, Mark, is that you?
It's me, Brick.
Hey, welcome to Reppin' Fitness. It's great to meet you.
Pleasure to be here. I'm used to dealing with Muppets in the fitness world, but first time with you, so real pleasure.
This is the real deal. The real deal here. You're getting the whole shebang. Now, a couple weeks ago, I did a podcast with my friend Paige. She's a holistic coach. And here I am thinking we're going to talk about yoga, meditation poses, things to help improve your mental game. Then all of a sudden, we're talking about bugs being in your body. More about this.
So
Are they bugs? Is it like a bug?
Yep, we got microscopic bugs in our gut, and it's pretty gross when you think about it, but you want
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be one of those episodes, is it?
No, I'm not going to talk about any animals in your... That's not going to happen.
Thank goodness, because I couldn't handle that. Because when I was looking you up, I see embodiment, and I have no idea what that means. Let's get into it. What is embodiment?
So embodiment is a subjective study of the body. So what that means is how who we are as people relates to the body. So you can look at the body as an object, and the average person in the gym is just treating their body like a machine. But it doesn't really work that way. And people in the gym know this. Like if you do a bench press, you'll feel powerful. It's not just that you're developing your pecs or something like that. And different practices will make you feel differently. And ultimately, you'll become different based on that. For me, I started off in the martial arts. I've done dance, yoga. And mostly I lift weights these days.
So tell me about that. You used to do martial arts?
Yeah, I was a live-in Aikido student for some years, and I really dedicated my life to that. I think when I was a young man, I didn't have much discipline. I wasn't very happy, and I walked into an Aikido dojo, and something in there, it's like an Aikido school, something in there just really spoke to me, and I thought, wow, there's something here that I need, and it became a big part of my life, and really became a kind of foundation of learning. And then later on, I realized, Aikido is great and martial arts are great, the jiu-jitsu and other things. But then I went, not everyone's going to do that. And then I realized you could coach people in a lot of the principles just in a normal kind of office environment. I ended up working in war zones. I started a charity in Ukraine. Some of that work. Yeah, it's full on. And most recently, I've been putting that sort of embodiment work into the gym to help people improve their mental health through weightlifting.
Now, when Brick thinks of embodiment, I think of creating a discipline in myself. And a lot of people, they struggle with discipline. Is this something that you do?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I got from martial arts that really saved my life was discipline. And, I was a drug addict, alcoholic until I really sorted that out. So this is life and death stuff, really. And I think modern culture doesn't teach discipline because we essentially live in a sort of nihilistic, hedonistic, postmodern culture, which doesn't want young men to have discipline and doesn't encourage that. It actively encourages people to be weak, I would say. So just getting to the gym regularly, that's the first discipline. And then within that, you have to fine tune your discipline. So for example, my urge is just to push everything, to max Dorian Yates style all the time. But I'm 44 and I'll damage myself if I do that. So my discipline is not going to failure all the time. My discipline is doing legs as well as chest. My discipline is how I eat. My discipline is how I sleep. What I love about weightlifting is it just spreads to all these other areas of life. It gives you a reason to meditate and eat properly and go to bed on time. So from just, hey, I want to be big, or hey, I want to be strong, which is young men's starting point normally. From that, the discipline spreads into the rest of their life, which I think is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I get it. Because if I don't get to the gym first thing in the morning, my whole routine's off. Meaning, I don't eat the same way. I'm not drinking water the same way. My day's all off. So, yeah, that's a great tip.
And
I appreciate that.
Another way of thinking about discipline is it's actually about self-regulation, that most people in the modernity don't do something hard. And because of that, we're just not used to dealing with difficult things, delaying gratification. I suspect this may have been different in past generations without romanticizing them. And the gym is a deliberately hard thing that you do, and it gets you in the habit and it builds the skill of dealing with difficult things. And, you know, relationships, languages, anything you want to do is difficult at some point. So there's actually a life skill in discipline, which is dealing with difficulty.
That's great. So how does that work? How does that work at the gym?
All right. So everyone knows the gym's good for your mental health. There's lots of evidence based on that. You know, look it up. It's one of the best things you can do. The evidence base is actually surprisingly robust. That fitness, strength training in particular, is better for you than most drugs, for example, for most mental health conditions like anxiety, depression, unless it's at a very severe level. So people sort of know that, but they don't really optimize for that. So how would it be to do the gym where that was your main focus? Also, I think the gym is character building. I mean, this was the original Greek idea of a gymnasia. I'm really returning to an old school idea that we're not just building muscle in the gym. We're building, you know, Aristotle would say virtues, Nietzsche would say will to power. We're building qualities as a person in the gym.
Qualities.
And that's what I'm most interested in the gym, rather than how big I can make my titties or, you know, whatever.
So tell me about that. Tell me about quality. What are we seeking?
Okay, so I don't know. I was working with a young guy yesterday. He's a bit down, and I said, hey, what do you want to work on? He said, energy. I said, okay, so let's do the training with energy, right? What is it like to have that feeling of energy? Because that's a feeling is not just something that happens, it's something you do. And it's something you can do better in the gym because the gym encourages it. It's hard to be depressed while doing, a squat of a couple 100 kilos or something, right? You just can't do it. So first of all, we tune into what that quality is, and then we start experimenting. So I'll give an example. He's on the leg press. I get him to do a set, and I say, right, every time you do a rep, say something bad about yourself, criticize yourself.
Wow.
And then he does 8 reps, 9 reps, doesn't enjoy it. And I say, right, rest. And after the rest, I say, and listeners can try this at home, I say, do a set, but this time, what are you grateful for? Or say something positive about yourself. And now he does 12, 13 reps. He can objectively see the difference of the subjective shift. And young guys, particularly, they don't really want to talk about their feelings. Like, young guys don't really want to do therapy most times. They don't really want to do yoga, but they'll go to the gym. And then the other nice thing is we can just talk while we're there. And it's a sort of what's called titrated, which means you have a chat, but then you do a set, then you have a bit more of a chat, then you do another set. And that just means they'll naturally open up about stuff in a way that they wouldn't if they went to a therapist and just got stared at for an hour. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. So we're talking about my favorite topic, reps. So
Yes.
With that said, are we saying you're going to be doing gratefulness between each rep or between the sets?
Well, you could, or you could do it as part of a cool down. So I have a cool down series, and they're basically meditations. You know, one might be gratitude, one might be kind of body awareness. So you do your exercise, and that kind of peaks you up, and then afterwards you can relax really deeply. Most people just run out of the gym at that point, but that's the perfect time to meditate. You know, yoga, they have shavasana, so you can do something similar, or you can integrate it in. I mean, try it. Like, don't have to believe me. Like, actually try. How is it to do a bench press with gratitude versus with hate? You will see a difference. And the question becomes, well, which do you want to practice? So an embodied perspective is we're always practicing. And what do you want to practice in the gym? Do you want to practice being angry or being energized or caring or whatever it is? Because you have to practice something as a quality alongside whatever physical movement you're doing.
What would you say are some practical techniques or maybe exercises you'd recommend someone just getting started with this?
Yeah, I mean, I always say just get into the gym or get into martial arts, whatever you like.
That's a great tip. I love that tip.
Do what
Get
you
to the
like.
gym.
Get to the gym. Get to the
Come
gym.
on. What are we doing?
That's
Right.
the most important thing, is getting to the gym or the dojo or whatever it is. And do what you like. That's the first thing I'd say is, like, if you love it, you can develop all the rest later on. And some people like CrossFit, got to help them. Some people like yoga. Some people like, weightlifting. Different people like different things, and that's fine. So I'd say that's the first thing, is just go with what you love. And the second thing, maybe just be a little bit more mindful about what you're doing, a little bit more about how you're doing it, as well as what are you doing. Are you actually building the qualities you would like in there? There's other things I could mention, trauma education, like being a bit more trauma aware in the gym. I think trauma gym instructors should be trauma aware, as should martial arts instructors. Should have.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by trauma aware?
Yeah, so being aware of what trauma is, what the symptoms are, and what to do about it. So a lot of the symptoms of trauma are pretty relevant if you exercise. For example, being numb in the body, well, that's going to really impact your training. Hyperarousal, when people are kind of fired up, that might mean they really want to go to the gym, right? They might even get addicted to the gym. Addictions are related to trauma quite strongly. So a lot of the ways people use the gym, some of which are very healthy and some of which are not healthy for self-medication. I think PTs should be aware of some of that stuff because it is happening in the gym. People are working on, big guys who are actually very vulnerable underneath, or people who feel very scared, so they go into these aggressive states, or people who are very reluctant to go into high energy emotional states because, when they do, they get overstimulated and they have to shut down. That might mean the gym's very hard for them. So there's many, many factors. I did a whole 20-minute video on it, but that the basics of trauma education should just be part of gym PT education.
Now, you mentioned that video. Where can I find that?
Feral Philosophy. So Feral Philosophy is our YouTube channel. We've got what's called pre-workouts, which are how do you get yourself fired up. And there's an ancestral one, and there's one about love, and there's one about what else? Discipline and determination. Kind of like motivational videos that the average gym bro listens to, but like a little bit more thoughtful and philosophical. And then there's essays on there, and then there's the cool down ones, which are more like meditation. So that's just very practical set of stuff people can use for free.
Interesting. Now, I love pre-workout. I drink them all the time. What you're saying, look at me, Brick Headstrong, and tell me, which video should I watch for a pre-workout?
I reckon you should watch the ancestral one. I think
Ancestral one.
With your beautiful red hair, there's probably some Scots-Irish or some Viking in you.
Yeah. I've been trying to talk to Vikings lately. There's a bunch of them on Instagram. None of them are talking to me.
They love it. Those Viking dudes.
I need to get like a weapon so they'll talk to me.
If you don't
not
have
because
an
I want to use it, but
if you don't have an axe, they won't take you seriously, man. So some of those guys do take life quite seriously for people cosplaying as Vikings. But I think you'd like the ancestral one. You could tune into your Brick Headstrong's ancestral power. That would fire you up.
I like it. I'll check that out right after this because I got to go to the gym. It's in the other room. Now, we were talking about working out, but we haven't talked about what you're doing at the gym. What are you focused on right now? And how many reps are you at?
How many reps? I do strength training. I do fairly long sessions, full body 5 times a week.
Whoa! 5 times a week?
Yeah, 5 times a week, usually 2 hours a time, which is not recommended from some point of view, but I love it. So, I mean, I just love it. I'm in there because I enjoy it. In terms of it's my own personal discipline, it definitely keeps my own mental health strong. I feel happy afterwards. So just from the point of view of state changing, I love it. And, also I'm in there with young guys. So I'm in there with 15 to 25-year-olds several times a week who I mentor, essentially, and trying to be a good influence on them.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's who I like to talk to. I'm actually working on taking Rep and Fitness to schools all over the United States.
Cool. I mean, it's the young people that need it, and they're not very well right now. A lot of young guys, I think in particular, they're not very well mentally in terms of drugs and suicides and things. All those things are up, sadly. And as I said, they don't want to see a therapist, but in the gym, they'll talk to you. In the gym, they can get a more positive embodiment. They can work on themselves, get a sense of discipline and life purpose. You can work on all that through the gym. And that is the entrance point, I think, that's accessible to the most young guys.
Now, you were saying you're in the gym 2 hours. Full body workout 5 times a week.
Yeah, that's
now,
normal for me. Plus dance, plus boxing. Yeah.
Now, my question is, how much time when you're at the gym is spent with embodiment practice? The whole time? Or just warm it up, break it down? What are we doing?
No, so, I mean, of that, an hour and a half of that is strength training. 30 minutes of it is stretching and movement. I still incorporate some yoga. I normally do something called trauma release exercises at the end of training.
What's that?
What's
that?
It's a shaking exercise that's good for your stress levels that I've taught in Ukraine
Like this?
and other places. You'll see people naturally do it when they've had a really hard workout. They'll just kind of twitch. And you can encourage that in a way that's really healthy, strange as it sounds. So that's the end of my practice, followed by a kind of lie down where I integrate. But I'm doing embodiment work all the time. I'm just doing it with my practice. So if you looked at me in the gym, what I'm doing is what most people are doing. I'm doing a bench press, I'm doing a deadlift, I'm doing a dumbbell curl. But one layer of that is the embodiment practice. But if you saw me in the gym, I just like a guy who's going around doing a full body workout.
Interesting. Now, how would you say that Brick can integrate embodiment into my workout today?
Okay. What is a quality you'd like to develop more of, Brick? In your life, not just, so let's start there. Like in your life, what would you like more of? Money.
Give me. Money. Money.
So it could
you know what? I would like to compete in Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
So I want a medal.
Great. So what qualities do you need to become the person who can compete in Mr. Olympia?
Well, I think I need to be more popular because they said that if I got voted in, I wouldn't even need to compete. So maybe I need to be more friendly at the gym in order to get that done.
I mean, you could literally work on, I had one student who was very kind of inward focused, and we had him working on exercises where he was doing push exercises like overhead presses and things like that. And he was just working on energy out, that idea of being a bit more outgoing. And, I had him kind of like talk to people in the gym as well, like help spot people, like help other people out in the gym. So his attitude was when he went to the gym was not just, well, I'm doing my workout, but who can I help? And actually getting that in his body in the kind of energy. So we had him doing like a glute raise, like the one where you're on the rack and you kind of lean down and you raise up. And as he raised up, he does this kind of movement. And that's like a super kind of extrovert, outgoing kind of movement.
Whoa.
So he's doing emotional reps at the same time as he's doing physical reps.
Interesting. Now, I ask everyone this. Music.
Yeah.
What do you think about music at the gym? Is it a distraction? You like it?
Yeah, music is packaged embodiment. So
okay.
If you want to get into a particular embodiment, there's lots of ways to do it. You could be coached expertly, you could have a role model, but I think a really good way is music. Like if I listen to, I was listening to 50 Cent this morning. There's a certain
50 Cent.
Many men. There's a certain embodiment in that I don't necessarily naturally have, but I can lean into that. And that's fun. And I listen to different types of music, everything from Brahms to heavy metal to hip hop. Sometimes I'm just listening to philosophy while I'm in the gym if I'm not working out that hard. And I also like a silent gym. I quite like to get there early, turn the TVs and the music off when no one else is around. And then I can really feel like every cell pumping. Music for me is a tool to use at times. And I certainly use it to get into altered states in the gym. So by the end of my 2-hour session, I'm pretty high. Like I'm in a serious old state. And music is part of what does that.
Every cell. I love it. I got to practice that. Tell me about your business. Now, I saw you have online. You have coaches available. You're in Austria. Is that the case? Am I right?
All over the world. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm in Austria. I'm in Switzerland. I was just in Slovenia, which I love.
You're going those places?
Yeah, all over.
Wow.
All over.
It's a busy schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I like working with different people. Different cultures are interesting to me. They've all got different embodiments, so I find that fascinating. I also teach online. I train a lot of life coaches. That's my main business. As I said, I run a charity on the side in Ukraine, so I supervise that. And I do live workshops, mostly for coaches. PTs get a lot from them as well, but they're mostly like life coaches, yoga teachers who come. And then the work in the gym is a separate venture.
So fitness coaches, how do you think they can integrate embodiment into the programs they're giving their clients? What's one thing?
I like working with fitness coaches because they actually get it really quick. I mean, they're already interested in things like motivation, for example, right? Or behavioral adherence. So they're interested in sort of key topics of embodiment already. They understand that the self-regulation tools that I teach them, what we would call centering, that's very useful in a fitness context. The trauma stuff, they kind of nod when I start talking about that. They get that. And many of the techniques they can use, fairly easily. Like I might have a yoga pose to work with boundaries, like a no pose, but equally we could do that with the bench press. It's the same thing. Your anger and yoga. So that push away, they translate fairly quickly into their own work. Boundaries work, for example, is like classic coaching work. So that's a direct translation into a bench press or a push up. So there's lots. They learn really quick, and I like having fitness people around. They generally have a pretty good attitude, and they pick things up quickly, and they understand the idea that you have to practice things, which more academic people don't necessarily get so much.
Now, when you say practice, let's give some kids, maybe adults, whoever's just getting started at the gym, what's some practical advice on embodiment, how they can adapt it into their workouts?
Yeah, let's go with that example I just gave. So most people are doing some kind of a pressing movement, right? They're doing a bench press, they're doing a push-up, something like that. Pretty standard. I don't respect any man who doesn't bench press at least a couple of times a week, Brick. You know what I mean? It's a standard.
Bingo.
Bingo. So you can do the bench, and you can be working on your pecs and your deltoids and your triceps, fine. But you can also do a set, maybe even just your warm-up set, where you say, what am I saying no to in my life? What am I pushing out of my life? What do I need to have a better boundary around? Maybe it's someone at work, maybe it's your social life, maybe it's your own drug habit, whatever. And actually bringing that intention of no into that pushing movement. And again, no one can even see you doing that. It's just a different layer that can be going on. So there's an example that's easy to talk through without demonstrating.
That's interesting. Now, if people wanted to find out more about what you do, how they can get involved, where can they go?
Yeah, I'm easy to find. So Feral Philosophy, so feral, like feral animal philosophy on YouTube, easy to search. And, it's a lot of these things. I'll talk you through in more detail there. I am on Instagram. I have books on embodiment out. I have the Embodiment podcast, and we train coaches. If people go to embodimentunlimited.com, they'll find all the workshops and stuff for coaches. But basically, if you throw the word embodiment into the internet, then usually my stuff comes up.
What would you say is your favorite podcast episode you've done so far?
Oh God, I've done 620. So
let's go within the last couple months.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you think people should check out?
From the fitness world, Coates was good. Mike Israetel, I'm sure, is going to be good. There's an old one with Paul Linden and Shinzen Young. There's an embodiment teacher talking to a meditation teacher, and they're both hilarious. Those two, that's a very old one with those two talking, which I liked a lot. There's one podcast with a guy who's about to die. And
Whoa!
Yeah, he dies the next week, and so he wants to be on the podcast to talk to me. That's pretty intense.
He knew he was dying?
Yeah, I sent him an email saying, hey, man, you want to come on the podcast? He said, well, can we do it today because I'm about to die? So that was pretty interesting. People can find that one. So there's been a whole bunch. And recently, lots of stuff on trauma.
I'm going to include one of those in the description, but I'm not going to tell you which. And I'm not going to tell anyone here either. Just check it out. Now, listen, this is Rep Fitness. It's been great talking to you. Now, Wark. I've been saying your name wrong the whole time. It's Wark, right?
No, my Instagram is Mark Walsh because Mark Walsh was already talking.
Did you talk to him about it?
I've reached out to all the fake ones. There's one at Pixar, and I'll have him eliminated at some point and reclaim. They're kind of in a Highlander-esque kind of move, I think, at some point.
Well, you hear it here first. Mark has a hit out on another Mark. But hey, Mark, thanks for joining me on Repit Fitness.
It's totally a pleasure. You're easily my favorite fitness influencer brick, easily.
Oh, thanks again for being a guest on Repit Fitness. And anyone watching right now, challenge yourself today. Get out there and do something. We'll see you on the next episode.